Here's what I'm wondering. If that technique works, then why can't she be doing these kinds of things all along instead of waiting for the big issues? All during the day, couldn't she be doing things to get him involved? In which case she can make decisions like, I want to do this, like that one you picked was something she really wanted to do.
Right.
But couldn't
no,
she
it's
involve
about everything. No, it's about
everything about her life. She get involved in some way.
The big thing about the 3 things I like to do next week, that's romance.
When they ask you,
okay, that's the romantic part.
What about if it's something simple like she wants to put up new curtains? Should I use the red ones or the burgundy ones? Wouldn't that be sort of an example? If he just says the burgundy ones, didn't he just get involved there?
Yes.
And give her validation?
Yes.
So it could even be these small things.
Oh,
yeah.
Without a doubt. When we get to the 3rd thing is domestic help.
Okay.
There's romance, which is a special occasion he creates once a week. So she's anticipating. Every week she needs to be anticipating, you know, in a few days, there's going to be something that 2 of us do without children, without relatives, without work, without anything, and it's something she likes regardless whether he likes it or not. That makes her feel special. That's called a date. That's the essence of romance. And women have to get over the idea that he's supposed to know what she wants and do it without her asking.
Right.
And that's that's unrealistic romance right there.
Yeah.
Because women see it in movies, read it in books, and so they get a big oxytocin response. So they think for super oxytocin they need that. That will produce it. But what will also produce it is just taking responsibility for letting your partner know what you like. You do your homework, ask him to do it, give him a little motivation to do it. He does it. When he does it, that's a sign he loves you. Whereas women have in their brains, if I have to ask, then it's a sign he doesn't love me.
Right.
If he says no, that's a sign he doesn't love me. As opposed to, you have to work with somebody a little bit, you know? It's like...
Aren't men a little afraid to open the door if they want to actually get involved and do some of these things? Because she may come back and give him this option of the 3 choices, but then it won't stop. She'll have more and more and more. Is that okay?
Well, first of all, I mean, what you're saying is the guy starts to hear this. No, it's just once a week, and you'll enjoy it. It's a moment of success. You're guaranteed. That's the other part of it.
So she should look for some.
At least a date a week is important for intimacy and romance.
But not all of it. Every moment.
But not every moment. I mean, that's insane, you know. But the special moment that you're going to share, and then she's anticipating that. But it's another part of her job. Identify what she likes, communicate to him, motivate him.
Right.
He then does the thing, creates the time, provides what you need, he does his best, and then her job at that point is now, the magic point is she responds to it with positive feelings, no matter how bad or good it is. So if he blows it, neutral response.
That's like his reward. Right?
That's his reward, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I promise,
he feels great.
Yeah, he feels great. Then he wants to do it again and again. What kills the romance?
He's trained.
Well, that's one way of putting it. Some men don't like to be trained. It's called trained, but I see it as training. I feel like my wife has trained me to be the best guy in the world. We have the power to bring out the best of people or the worst of people. We can't change people, but we can bring out what's there. If there's good there, our behavior, my behavior brings out the best of my wife. I know how to bring out the best in her. I just have to do things that will then stimulate her oxytocin levels, and the best of her comes out. That could be this date and a willingness to go on that date and plan that date with her once a week. We also have a special occasion every few months, something more special, something memorable that you can take pictures and show your friends that she gets bragging rights. My husband brought me here where we did this.
This frequency is the important thing too, not waiting for the 25th anniversary.
That's right, not just one a year. You know, there'll be a few special occasions during the year, but then this regularity of the day, then the good communication, making sure that there's room to talk, and what women have to learn is how to talk in a language that men listen. Don't complain my husband doesn't listen. You're speaking Spanish and he speaks English. He can't understand you. You've got to understand how to speak his language. And so what it means, not a big transformation. You can speak your own language. It's just you have to be able to prepare him. So you say to him, I just want to talk for 10 minutes. I want to talk about the problems of my day. I don't want you to say anything. Just look in my direction. That's all I need. I'll produce plenty of oxytocin and I'll give you a big hug and walk into the other room.
Well, this is new.
What man would have a problem with that?
Yeah. Normally we're trying to find some middle ground or some middle language, as we say.
Don't need to. Then she can speak whatever language she wants, and for the first several months of it, never complain about anything that has to do with him.
So both of us want to relate on each other's level. We just have to do it for shorter periods of time.
What really needs to happen is men need to be that learn to listen without interrupting or fixing. Women need to learn how to share themselves shortly and without expecting him to give some verification that he heard her.
Excellent. That's concise.
And then there's no failure. Then you do this. It's very easy to do.
Is there a time frame on this?
10 minutes.
10 minutes,
no
and the
more.
relationship could be turned around.
Well, I wouldn't say the whole relationship. You're now turning in the right direction. You know, my workshops, I do a...
But it's progress, and it'll just repeat itself. So basically, the relationship turns around.
I do that. I teach couples that little 10-minute exercise now in my book, Why Mars and Venus Collide, Why They Misunderstand You. I really explain all the details of it. You know, I've given you the short version of it, but there's a more sophisticated version of it. But in only 10 minutes, man just listens, woman just talks, little things, little guidelines you follow. It takes me about an hour to teach this in one of my weekend workshops. Every few months I do something at my ranch in California. And it's for singles, couples, it's everybody learning how to balance stress, lower stress in their life, balance hormones, and a big part of that is learning behavioral relationship skills. And the men do this exercise where they just listen to the women, and I teach them how to express their feelings without complaining. And that's a little bit more lesson into that. But even if you're just complaining and you tell them, don't say anything, fix it, you'll feel better. But I'm bringing it to a higher level.
Right.
When couples do that, every single person in the room, the women are crying. They say, I've never felt so heard in my life. I'm blown away. I couldn't believe that my husband was so attentive. He was really there for me. And the men are going, I've never felt so close to my wife ever. Because here's the way men's brains are designed. As soon as you give a man a problem, his brain wants to solve it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And he stops listening. See, you actually can measure blood flow in a man's brain. He disconnects from the listening part and goes over here to the solving the problem.
Okay.
And then while she's talking, if there's several problems, then we start prioritizing what's the most important one, what's important, what's not important. So everything she's saying is going through this filter of, is that important, is that not, what should I do, how can we solve it, how can we eliminate it? And that's a lot of chatter going on in our brain. We really aren't just sitting there taking it in.
So you're saying 10 minutes is a time frame that men can just listen.
That's right. But you have to tell them every time, I don't need you to fix anything. I don't need you to say anything.
So there's
just
some rules.
look in my direction.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people listening, because they don't get the whole explanation, they have resistance to this. They go, well, I want a response. You know, I want some message. I go, well, you don't. You think you want it. You think you
want me to hear you.
Yeah, and you don't understand. If you just tell a man you don't have to respond, then you start to open a door where he can actually start to hear everything you're saying. But if you have any expectation of him changing or responding to what you're saying, he will be busy trying to figure out the right response.
If a man isn't solving that problem in 10 minutes, he's probably accomplishing what she wanted him to accomplish anyway. He's understanding her.
That's the point. Is I started really understanding my wife when she would say, I don't need you to say anything. Don't fix it.
10 minutes.
In 10 minutes. Then at the end, it's very awkward because women want to then go into, well, what do you think? How do you feel? And what you have to say, the woman has to say, thank you so much for listening. I feel so much better. Let me give you a hug. And you give a hug, and then you separate for a little while.
Now, do men
complete it?
Are there men out there looking for the solution, or is it just the women that are coming or gravitating towards this program?
Oh, I usually have half and half. It's the most unique relationship program.
And I think that says a lot, that men are looking for a solution to these marital problems too. It isn't just that the women are.
Well, let me comment on that. You know, women say we buy all the self-help books, we buy the relationship books. They do. Men from Mars is an exception because it validates men. But what men do is men buy relationship books just as much as women. They're just in a different section of the bookstore. They're in the how to make more money section of the bookstore. They're in the
approaching
business
it a different way.
Well, men know that if I'm going to have a relationship, I need to make the money.
That's right.
I need to be successful in life because you don't have a job, you don't get a woman.
And the women are putting pressure on him to provide. And they want that security also. You know,
Of course. And a lot of women today, the flip is happening. They're becoming more self-sufficient. 40% of women today make more money than their husbands.
Is that right?
Yes, this is new
stuff.
stuff.
That's amazing.
And it creates a whole new line of problems.
Wow.
Oh, I mean, it's a whole other show. It's a whole other book. It's my book, my most recent, my book, Why Mars and Venus Collide. Is it as women are becoming more masculine?
So this is the latest book.
The latest book is Venus on Fire, Mars on Ice.
Mars, okay.
And I do cover that a bit as well. It's the change of life. As women have become more like men, and you'll see that in their auras. They're becoming more like men. Their female is drying, literally drying up. And you'll see women getting older, they do dry up down there. And I can get them. You can actually get the lubrication back, you can rebuild, everything can restore itself if she takes the time to find balance in her life of doing the nurturing activities where she's giving and learning how to receive. And the reason, remember in the beginning of the interview I mentioned that indigenous women didn't care about romance, they didn't care about communication with their spouses, they didn't care about domestic help. Men had a job, you just do that job, protect and provide from the jungle, that's all I need. Women were happier because they had other women all day long supporting them.
That's right.
And when women are with women, they get oxytocin. When they're in a cooperative environment, they get oxytocin. When they're competitive, no oxytocin.
You know, I'm a clairvoyant medical intuitive also. I actually look in the body, look in the blood, look at all the fluids, look everything works. I'm going to start tracking that down too. But let me pose a different question.
You can also use the language, the yang and the yin energy.
Sure.
Like in Chinese medicine, so many problems that women have is an imbalance of yin-yang energy. And for men, when men become too yin, they are too cold. Hot, there's cold and hot. Well, there's the heat and the cold. You become too hot, too cold, or you become too yin, too yang. And it's really the masculine, feminine energy. And when a man becomes too feminine, that's when he's moody, that's when he's passive, that's when he's angry, that's when he's possessive. All those jealousy, crazy things, men,
emotions.
that's men going too far, they're female.
What about age?
When women are cold and demanding and bitchy and complaining and everything, they're on the male side.
Well, there's only very few of those. But what about age? I get a lot of women that are like 50, 55, 60, and they're looking for the soulmate, their relationship, or they're having the issues that we talked about. Does this problem change depending on how old you are?
As you age, there's a natural maturing process.
Because the hormones are different, you know.
That's right, that's right. There's a built-in shifting of everything. So as you age, there's a natural androgyny that starts to take place.
Okay.
Women naturally become more masculine. Men naturally become more feminine. It becomes a problem when they're not rooted in their body sex. So if I'm a man and I'm starting to have more estrogen, I have to maintain my testosterone. Otherwise, I start getting weak, sick, and aging fast because my estrogen is greater than my testosterone in the balance. For women, as they shift through menopause, naturally their testosterone levels go up, their estrogen levels go down.
Okay.
But if they can't maintain the right balance of feminine hormones while their testosterone's going up, then they become very dry and unemotional. They don't care about romance. They don't care about relationships. They become bitter. They become tough.
So it sounds like your process works for any age group then.
Yeah, at every age it's about finding balance wherever you are. And there's no right amount of being masculine and feminine. There's a matter
but still, you're adjusting the hormonal
You're
balances.
always just trying to find balance. And when men move in the direction, when women support the growth of testosterone in men bond with women. When women allow men to raise their oxytocin, elicit, motivate men to come in and make her happy, that's how men bond with women. So a 55-year-old woman or 60-year-old woman who's looking for love, she has to overcome the tendency to want to be independent and say, I don't need a man, I'd like a man.
Yeah.
She has to come from the place of, I'm very fulfilled in my life, but if I was with a man, I need a man to make me happier.
Okay.
I need a man to take me to ecstasy. I need a man so I don't go places alone. I need a man so my home is not empty. And if you recognize I am unhappy, I may have all the money in the world, I may have a big house, but it's empty, and I'm a woman, I am unhappy because that house is empty. I just need somebody sitting on that couch, and I'll be happier.
Okay, one last question. Use the word bond. One of the things that I'm looking for when I'm doing the counseling is I'm looking for that right relationship. I want them to be with the right person. And I say to me, especially when we see it visually, if I had them side by side, whatever they are, that energy about them, and whatever they're in life, it should be cycling together, not cycling apart.
Yes,
okay?
yes, that's the interdependence.
Okay, is that what you meant by bonding?
Yes, bonding is interdependence.
That's what you meant. Okay, good.
And see, men are really dependent on a woman to feel meaning and purpose in your life. Your children could give it to you as well, but you need to be sacrificing for a noble cause. Why am I here? There's got to be a reason we're here, and it's to make this world a better place, to make her happier, whatever. That's what gets men going. Women already know they're here to feed the world.
See, what I
think
got
breasts.
It's great.
It's built in. But women need support from men to say, you're special, you deserve, let me give this to you, let me reinforce what a wonderful person you are.
But see, your technique, what's different about it, and it's going to help them cycle together, is there's this constant give and take.
Interdependent.
Constant give and take. And so that's actually keeping them together.
Oh, it keeps us together.
That's why I was asking about the word bond with you.
Yes.
It actually literally keeps them together.
Yeah, when I sign books, if I sign the longer one, I always write their name and I say, always grow in love.
Okay. And where
it's growing together.
And where can we get these books?
Well, you can go to MarsVenus.com.
Okay.
You can get reviews on all my books. You can certainly get them on Amazon or the Barnes & Nobles and the big stores all have a lot of my books. But
how many books are you up to now?
I'm at 16.
Oh my
But the ones that are most relevant to what we talked about for the single people, a must is, of course for everybody, I think Men from Mars is like the foundation of all my work. It's still relevant today.
It's like on every bookshelf in America.
Yeah, and in every home.
Exactly. Everywhere I go, I see it.
In the 90s, it was, by USA Today, it said the #1 best-selling book in all categories.
You see it everywhere. It's amazing.
So it's really helped a lot of people. Built on that, I wrote one on dating, so for dating people. There's a lot of dating tips on how we sabotage relationships. And then I'll skip ahead. There's a parenting book as well, but then I'll skip ahead to my most recent one, which is just coming out is Venus on Fire, Mars on Ice. There's the PBS special on it. It's
Incredible
showing
title,
the
by the
country.
way.
Yeah, and about the
Really
balancing
good
of the
title.
hormones. That's A. And the one before it, which a couple of years ago, it's still extremely relevant to everything we've been talking about. It's Why Mars and Venus Collide. And it's how we cope with stress differently. And that's really been a lot of what we're talking about. We're all under lots of stress. If we can understand how our partners are reacting to stress, first of all, we don't give them such a hard time for it. We realize and understand what they're going through. Second of all, we can take care of our own stress. And third, we can then do constructive things to help our partners more effectively cope with stress rather than making it worse.
Wow.
So often the relationships just make it worse when they could make it better.
You know, John, what's so amazing about your work and your books is if we just look inside, be aware, and start changing the way we are, we're going to get the result we're looking for. We don't have to go to meditation or yoga or do all these practices or go to counseling. Just have to be aware.
You know, it's like a grocery store.
Right.
Some things are good for others, some things are good for me. Meditation has always been a part of my life.
You can add it to it.
Yeah, it's been something that's useful for me. I know many people it has no use for them at all. They're just not into it. It's a struggle, it's hard. I was a natural for it, so that was very helpful for me. For some people, going to the gym, for 10% of the population, going to a gym is immensely helpful to them. For the other 90%, not
Right.
helpful.
But it's not a prerequisite for the books.
No,
That's
no,
what
you
I'm
don't have
saying.
to do anything. Right,
So you
right.
just read the books
This,
and
you can just start making simple
changing your
changes.
life.
And you know what? I've been doing this like 35 years or something, and I really focus on things in my counseling sessions, as you do in your sessions, that when I happen to do that, I got an immediate, lasting change. That's real
Yep.
transformational. I really see myself as, you know, someone helping people really transform to create some changes that aren't just for this weekend or a month, but when they work right away, we tend to keep doing them, and when
Well,
they're easy.
It isn't a change if it isn't permanent in my mind, okay? And I won't usually let someone leave a session with me until they commit to making the change.
Well, that's another part of it.
Yeah,
It's
and
a
they
very
say,
key
well,
thing.
yeah, I'll think about doing that. I said, no. We need the plan now.
If you
okay?
don't commit,
what are
you
you
won't
going to
do
do
it.
in 2 days? What are you going to do in a week?
That's right.
And it applies to what you're doing.
Oh, I
also.
love it. Making commitments, everything.
Well, John, it has really been a pleasure. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
joining
thank
us
you. I enjoyed
on
this
Mind,
interview.
Body, Spirit TV.